Hello and welcome back with me, Admiral, joining me on Star Trek Fleet Command, more specifically joining me with the USS Discovery. Just before we start this episode, thank you to all the new subscribers. Don't forget, if you do want to support the channel in any other way, then hitting that subscribe button is the best way you can do it. If you want to do it in a more financial way, then there will be a PayPal link down below. And obviously everything that is donated will go back in towards the channel in some way or another, and I will tell you exactly what it's gone towards. But anyway, this episode is going to be about the USS Discovery. So we're going to do this slightly different to normal. Obviously, we're going to keep it up in game. But first of all, what we're going to do is, like I say, it's going to be slightly different. We're going to go through a little bit of the history of the ship, where it's come from, what it actually is, and then we're going to jump into the game properly. Then we're going to go through the ship itself, all the upgrade paths for it, and then we're going to jump into the research and what type of research you need to do to try and obviously help it, and more importantly, all the abilities that the ship obviously has to offer, and the pros and cons to them abilities. So this episode might be a little bit longer than normal, but hopefully you like this layout. I might start going into a little bit more history on the ships in the future. And hopefully that is something that everyone likes, just because it gives a little bit of background towards the ships themselves, which I personally think adds a little bit more sort of atmosphere to the ship. So going into the USS Discovery, the history of the ship itself. So the USS Discovery, the NCC 1031, as you can see, was a 23rd century Federation cross-field class starship operated by Starfleet under the command of Captain Gabriel Lorca, which we don't have in the game as of yet, and later on by Captain Christopher Pike, obviously, which everyone knows, and we've had him in the game for a while. So it was commissioned in 2250. It had a complement of 136, and its speed using the spore drive was 90 light years within 1.3 seconds. It was armed with phasers and photon torpedoes before its retrofit. Once it had its retrofit, it was then armed with quantum torpedoes and tricobalt devices. Obviously, it had its shields, and then post retrofit, it had ablative armor generators. I'm not entirely sure what they are. So the Discovery was launched into service in San Francisco Fleet Yard's air. Its motto was, "All things can be understood once they are discovered. The point is to discover them." That quote came from Galileo, with one change. The word truths has been changed to things. It was commissioned in 2255, as I said, under the Captain Jonathan John Bourne. It was temporarily commanded by Commodore Anne Cambridge following the death of the captain and first officer. In November 2256, it was still considered impressively new, fresh out of the starship, and equipped with some of the Starfleet's most advanced technologies. In contrast with the obviously relatively old USS Shenzhou, which obviously if you've seen the Discovery series, then you should know what these ships are. If you haven't, I do recommend going to watch it. As a crossfield class starship, Discovery was officially designated a science vessel, though it was capable of defending itself. The ship's facilities were capable of accommodating 300 discrete scientist missions and Starfleet records. Due to the outbreak of the Federation Klingon War in 2256, the vessel, as now new as Discovery, would normally have been pressed into service on the front lines, even though it would have relatively small impact compared to others, more combat-orientated vessels. Instead, the Discovery was placed under the command of Captain Lorca, and given clandestine missions, basically given other missions to conduct black ops for scientific research. developing top secret weapons and technologies that would help the Federation to win the war. Several of those experiments had the potential to physically endanger the ships itself and the crew. Hazardous situations caused the Black Ops experiments being activated were addressed by declaring Black Alert. So this is something that the ship does, as everyone knows. When it goes into that spore drive capability, it goes under Black Alert. Both Discovery and its sister ship, the USS Glenn, which was destroyed, were equipped with the experimental spore drive for field testing. Much research and refinement remained from the dome to be done in late 2256, but it perfected it had through potentially to instantly transverse vast galactic distances. As stated before, it could transverse 90 light years within 1.3 seconds. And it was obviously there to boldly go where no ship had gone before. And do it a hell of a lot faster through what is known as a mycelial plane, which is obviously part of the mycelial network. And you just needed to navigate that, which is what they used. They originally used a creature, then they obviously moved to the science officer on board the ship, which was Paul Stamets. Other than that, that is a brief history about the ship. I'm not going to go too much into it because otherwise we'll obviously end up going into the actual... I'll end up talking about the actual film itself and obviously, or the series itself, because that's obviously what a lot of this is based off. It's based off the series. But basically, I don't want to ruin the series for anyone either. So spoiler alert, if you have not seen the series yet, then I recommend maybe not listening to the next snippet I'm about to say. I'll give you a second. Okay, so basically what happens is, under the command of Captain Lorca, the USS Discovery goes through the spore drive network, or the mycelial plane, and what he ends up doing is finding a way back to the alternative universe, which is where he's actually from, where Terran was formed. Which is Terran is essentially another federation, essentially. However, their opinions and their beliefs are completely opposite to the Federation's, and they are obviously warmongering sort of personnel. And Captain Lorca becomes a bad guy. Moving on from that, they find their way back, and Captain... I won't spoil anymore. Captain Giorgio, anyway, comes back with them, i.e. the Terran Empire Emperor at the time. She comes back with them into their normal sort of Federation universe, and the series goes on from there. That's a brief overview. You can listen back in if you haven't done so already. I've moved the ship, so it indicates that you can listen back in. So that's a brief overview of what the ship actually, history and what it does and what it is armed with and what its capabilities are. So going into the actual ship itself, so we will recall it, so just so it's easier. And we're just outside we're literally just outside the station. So the ship itself, obviously, it is a very beautiful ship, very nice. What its capabilities are, so it's mycelial harvesting capable. So what it does is just mines mycelium really, really fast. It's really, really good at doing it, and doesn't take too long to mine quite a substantial amount of it. And then, in terms of its power capabilities, it's not a very strong ship. However, we'll come into its abilities in a second. Its upgrade capabilities, so obviously you've got the shield generator, which is standard. You got the spore drive, which requires certain technologies, which I'll show you with this one. And then you've got 2 pulse phaser cannons, energy weapons, and then you've got the kinetic, obviously photonic torpedoes, which is obviously your kinetic. Most of the ship requires this to upgrade, which is your spore drive component. Spore drive components can be obtained by doing the Ark missions, by doing other forms of missions, obviously relating to the Discovery or its path. That is needed for all the upgrades, which is the main thing that you're going to run out of as well. The spore drive is very limited. However, there is things that you can do, which I will come on to when we do the research in just a second. There is things that you can do to help bolster that research, that speed or distance you can jump, and other factors involved. So, that's pretty much the ship and what it's capable of. We'll do a quick demonstration of what it can actually physically do. So if for example, I've got my, obviously, USS Saladin currently doing swarm duty at the moment, and my home is obviously Robeton. So if you haven't seen the ship already, it's capable of doing things like this, providing we can have the range, which I think we should do. Wrong ship. So it would normally take just under 5 minutes, or we can just do that. And what it's capable of doing is jumping instantly to this system, and you'll see it jumping in with a black alert. Boom. Takes a couple of seconds and it jumps in instantly. On the other hand, you can obviously jump it back to your base. This can come in handy quite a lot, to be honest. So we'll jump it back to the base. And so again, it goes under the black alert, which is what we were speaking about just a second ago, and it jumps back into the system, and we'll recall it to the system. So whilst I'm on here, we have a couple of different abilities. Obviously, you've got the mycelial network. This tells you how much you own, and obviously you can mine it. If you go to the refinery, go to the Discovery tab, you can also, with the harvest, you can also do this. I've never needed to do this just because of the missions and stuff. I've never actually been able to refine anything. And obviously you have these second sort of Discovery refinery things, which you get from having these awards when you do the token missions. And you can get an array of different things, including getting the spore drive components, which are obviously things that you definitely need, as well as the recruit tokens that you need as well. And then you might get a few different, obviously, chances to get some speed ups and stuff like that as well, which are obviously of beneficial use. So that is basically the capabilities with the mycelial sort of spore drive capabilities of it. There is another capability, which is this little tab here. And this little tab is a summon button. This ability needs to be researched in the tech tree, which we'll come on to once I've just spoke about this. And this allows you, as it says there, this allows you to select the ship to jump to the location of the Discovery, which is going to be massively game-changing for the game in general. And I will come on to the potential positives and maybe some of the potential negatives. I don't think there's too many negatives overall, I don't think, with using this capability. For other players, it might be a negative in terms of weaker players and stuff, but overall, I don't think it's going to be too much of a negative. Mainly positive, I would say, personally. But yeah, going into the research. Right, so if we go to, obviously, our research building and head into the research, I'll show you where you need to do most of the research for this. If you go to the Galaxy tab and you start to scroll over, you'll see the first two researches that you come across are going to be your cultivated mycelium jump efficiency and your USS Discovery impulse speed. So what these do is improve the cost efficiency of the cultivated mycelium for the USS Discovery's jumping and summoning abilities. So this is obviously going to be very beneficial when it does. Once you unlock, obviously, the summoning abilities, we will come on to that in a second. You do need level 10, so you're going to get a 50% reduction instantly anyway. So it's going to be hopefully not... The way they're going to balance it is probably going to be very expensive to do in the first place. So having that 50% reduction is going to help with that summoning ability. Also, you need the USS Discovery impulse speed to be at level 3, which is obviously its max level as well, which is obviously 20. What this does is increases the impulse speed of the USS Discovery quite substantially. It is once it's fully upgraded, it will be quite a fast ship throughout the network or the subspace. So that should obviously help out quite massively as well. And then you have two different ones. So you got the USS Discovery summonings, which you need, like I was just saying, you need level 10 and you need level 3. This unlocks the ability to summon a ship using the USS Discovery spore drive engine, which is obviously going to be completely game changing and we'll have to see how that pans out. The other ability is your USS Discovery warp range. Obviously, this depends on your R&D build, and I'm locked out at the moment because obviously I don't have an R&D build of level 33. But it increases the range of the USS Discovery by however much the level specifies. It's mainly 5s up until you get to level 4, and then it goes up in 10s, and then obviously a little bit more, all the way up to obviously level 10, which is an increase of 145 range, which is insane. Just putting it out there, that is a massive range increase. Even getting up to like level 3 or 4, getting a 15 to 20 increase in range is pretty decent. Considering if you look at the USS Discovery now, once I go back everything, it's already got a range of 27 warp. So if you can get another like 15 on top of that, you're looking at a 40 or 2 warp ship capable. Bearing in mind that doesn't take into account the fact that you're going to obviously upgrade the ship as well. And once it gets maxed out, the range is going to be pretty damn good. Therefore, you could jump somewhere using the mycelium network, and then obviously it's going to cost more the further you jump. Just bear that in mind. And then once you get there, you can summon another ship to do all the things that you need to do. Saves you waiting around, 10 minutes for a ship to potentially fly to another destination and stuff like that. But yeah, they're the 4 researchers so far that you can do the research with regards to the USS Discovery. Obviously, I would say focus on these 2 first. Obviously, you're going to have to, because you're going to need to focus on them to unlock the summoning ability. So do focus on them 2 first. They do come in beneficial use, and obviously the warp range. This is a must. Pretty much any time you can do it, I would recommend to do it, because this is pretty much a must, just to get that extra range capability, and then focus back on these 2 again until you can unlock this one again, and then obviously keep going back and forth as much as you can. So going on to more to do with the advantages of the summoning ability, the disadvantages of the summoning ability, potential disadvantages anyway. I don't really see that many, but there could be a few. So the advantages of the ability are going to be, you can jump pretty much anywhere in the galaxy, and then you can summon a ship to that location pretty much instantaneously, and you can conduct, if need be, you can conduct mining, raiding, you can conduct missions, which is what I use my Discovery quite a lot for, is missions that take forever to do, because you're constantly traveling back and forth throughout the galaxy. I just use the Discovery, and it's really, really good at doing that ability of doing missions, because you can jump from location to location instead of having to wait to travel all these distances. So that is a really good beneficial use for it. The only downsides that I can sort of think of with regards to the Discovery's ability, especially when it comes to the jumping ability of summoning ability, is it could potentially lock people if they're under attack. So, for example, the whole alliance could warp their Discoveries in, and then before you know it, they could summon pretty much whatever ships they want in to that area. And by the time they got them ships in, they can have warped, or they could have spore drived out the Discovery back to their home planet, and then they can summon that ship straight back once, essentially, unless it gets destroyed, obviously, and then obviously it returns. But they could send a miner in, for example, attack a location, and then instantly spore drive it out. So I don't know how the summoning ability 100% works, but if it does work on that principle, people could get really, really locked into especially wars or attacks when it comes to raiding. But then that is subject, obviously, to your server. Obviously, everyone's server is differently, so not every server is a hostile server. A lot of servers are obviously PvE predominantly. Few PvE, PvP players, but mostly PvE. This is also a very good. This is a very good thing for PvP as well, just because you can locate a ship that you wanted, or from obviously an enemy alliance of some form, and then you could just be flying by them with the Discovery, locate them, and then go boom. You could send in your strongest ship you have that'll be able to obviously defeat them or whatever, and it's just a very, very fast way of being able to lock onto an enemy, basically overwhelm them with sheer firepower pretty quickly, and be able to just then escape again pretty quickly. Again, depending on how the summoning ability works. I haven't read too much into it. Obviously, I haven't unlocked it myself. So please let me know in the comments down below if you have unlocked it, and tell me a little bit about it. Again, that would be very beneficial to obviously me and obviously the rest of the viewers. Other than that, that has been today's Discovery episode. I hope this video has been a little bit better than normal. So again, we recapped a little bit of history of the ship. We've done a bit of obviously what it's capable of, and we've obviously looked into the research of the ship itself. Look forward to Thursday's video, which is going to be on the crew. As I said last week, it's going to be more on the crew, and obviously what the crew what the crew are capable of with other types of officers, and what crews to use with this ship, and not just this ship, but obviously all the other ships within the game. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, don't forget to give a like to the video. If you didn't, then give a thumbs down. Please let me know either way why you liked it or disliked the video. And don't forget, most of all, to support the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share the video with all your friends and all your alliances, because we will be doing obviously this more often. If you did like the history side of it, so a bit of background knowledge on each of the ships, then please let me know in the comment section down below whether you enjoyed that, because again, I can carry that on in the future, and I just think it adds a little bit of depth and a bit of background to the ship itself. So overall, I personally think it's a better move. Sorry for the long video, but I feel like these types of videos need to be a little bit longer than normal. So hopefully make sure you watch watch all the way to this point. And again, if you want to support the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you want to financially support the channel and everything that I'm doing, then I'll leave a PayPal link down below, and obviously everything is welcome. And thank you in advance. And other than that, I will see you next time. Bye bye for now.